All right, so today we're going deep into a world where, like, everything is connected.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
We're talking 2125.
Okay.
And the dominant worldview is monism.
All right.
So the idea that reality is fundamentally like one big interconnected thing.
Yeah.
And to help us wrap our heads around this,
Yeah.
we've got Anya's account.
Okay.
She's a citizen in this monistic society. And her story, it's like a window into how this worldview shapes everything.
I mean, that's what's so fascinating about this, right? It's not just an idea, it's like their reality.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. Anya starts her day by connecting to her neural implant.
Oh, yeah.
She calls it her Synapse.
Okay.
It's not just a device. It's like an extension of her mind, totally integrated into her life.
And it sounds so seamless, right? Like she doesn't even think about it.
Exactly, like breathing for her.
Huh.
But get this, she's thinking about needing groceries. And her Synapse just suggests items from the local market.
Oh, wow.
It factors in her dietary preferences, what's in season, even potential recipes.
So it's like next level AI, almost like anticipatory.
Yeah, it's not just smart tech as we know it.
Right.
It's built on this whole different understanding of how information works.
Yeah, the AI isn't separate. It's like it's reflecting the interconnectedness of everything.
Whoa, so it's tapping into a shared pool of knowledge.
Yeah, like a collective awareness.
This is already blowing my mind, but what about personal relationships?
Yeah, good question. Does everyone just meld into like one giant mind?
Right.
Well, Anya talks about this deep connection with her work team.
Okay.
She almost feels like they're extensions of herself.
Whoa.
She even feels their emotions, their struggles as echoes in her own consciousness.
Okay, that's both fascinating and a little creepy.
I know, right?
Like, wouldn't all those emotions be overwhelming? Where do personal boundaries even begin?
Yeah, Anya grapples with this too. It's like this balancing act between connection and individuality.
So it's not all sunshine and roses.
Definitely not. It makes you think, how do they handle conflict or just needing alone time?
I need to hear more about how Anya deals with that, but hold on.
Okay.
Back up a sec. How does this Synapse tech actually work? Is it some quantum entanglement thing?
Right. Anya doesn't get into the nitty-gritty details.
Okay.
But she does say that information isn't separate from consciousness in her world.
Interesting.
It's not just data, it's a reflection of the underlying unity of everything.
So it's woven into their reality.
Exactly. And maybe the synapse isn't really transmitting information in the way we think of it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more like giving access to this shared consciousness, this universal hum.
Whoa, mind-blowing. But wait, could someone, like, hack into that?
That is a great question, and Anya doesn't really touch on those security aspects.
True. And with everyone so interconnected, what about ethics? Especially with AI.
Yeah, you're hitting on some key points there.
If the AI is an extension of them, does it also inherit all their biases?
Anya does talk about the ethical side of AI, but maybe we should unpack that a bit later.
You're right. Let's put a pin in that for now. I'm still stuck on Anya's daily life. What about her work? She mentions being a network weaver, which sounds kind of vague.
Yeah, it's not your typical 9 to 5.
So what does she actually do?
It's all about managing the flow of information in this totally connected world.
So like instead of data analysts, they have network weavers, tending to the fabric of consciousness.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Anya describes it as weaving threads of thought and emotion,
Whoa.
creating this harmony of information throughout the whole network.
Okay, but that's got to be insanely complex, right? Like, wouldn't there be way too much information constantly flooding the network?
Well, Anya does mention feeling overwhelmed sometimes.
Right.
But it seems like they've figured out ways to filter and prioritize the information.
So it's not just a jumbled mess of thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
There's some order to it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Think of it like an orchestra, all these instruments playing different notes.
Okay.
But you've got a conductor who makes sure everything flows together.
Right.
That's kind of what network weavers do.
So they're like the conductors of consciousness, making sure the information is manageable and makes sense.
Exactly. And wouldn't that take a crazy amount of empathy?
Yeah, to sift through all those thoughts and feelings and like actually understand them.
Anya says empathy is like the key skill for network weavers. Even more than a skill. It's like their way of being.
So it's about connecting with the people behind the data.
Yeah, it's a totally different way of thinking about work.
Definitely. And that brings us back to boundaries. How do people in Anya's world carve out space for themselves with all this connection?
Anya admits it's a struggle. She calls it a learning process, this dance between the collective and the individual.
So it's not about shutting everyone out, more like finding ways to handle all the information and connection.
It seems like Anya talks about mindful detachment, consciously stepping back from the network, almost like meditation reconnecting with their own thoughts and feelings.
So even in this super connected world, they still need solitude.
Totally. Finding that balance, that's the challenge.
We've talked about Anya's work, her relationships, those boundary issues. But what about the bigger picture? How does this monism thing shape their whole society?
Well, Anya brings up the ethical side, especially when it comes to AI.
Okay.
She says ethical AI isn't like a separate system with rules.
So no robots with the 3 laws of robotics.
Nope, not quite. Anya describes their AI as coming from their collective consciousness, reflecting all their shared values and principles.
That makes sense. If everything's connected, their tech would naturally embody their ethics.
Right, but what if people disagree about those values? What if they have different ethical views?
Good point.
Anya says they do have different viewpoints, but this shared experience of being connected, it creates a deeper understanding and empathy between them.
So even if they don't agree, they can at least get where each other's coming from.
It seems that way, and this shared understanding helps them navigate ethical stuff together.
Wow, so their tech actually brings them closer instead of dividing them.
Exactly, and get this. Anya says this connection goes beyond just humans.
What do you mean?
She feels this kinship with all living things, even the planet itself.
Whoa, so their monism, expands their compassion to the whole web of life.
Yeah, it sounds like Anya talks about belonging to something way bigger than herself.
That's beautiful, but kind of hard to wrap my head around.
I know, right?
All this talk about interconnectedness makes me wonder, are there any downsides? Does Anya ever feel overwhelmed by it all?
She does, yeah. She talks about moments where she feels lost, like in the vastness of it all.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Or times when those shared emotions just get too intense.
Right, so it's not all perfect unity, there's still tough parts.
Oh, for sure. Every way of life has its ups and downs.
Right, of course.
But what's interesting is Anya sees those challenges as chances to grow.
Okay, I like that.
She talks about how important it is to learn to navigate the whole interconnectedness thing,
Yeah.
finding that balance between the collective and being an individual.
So it's a constant process of learning and adapting.
Exactly. And that seems to be at the heart of their whole worldview. It's not about reaching some perfect unity.
Okay.
It's about this ever-changing relationship with being connected to everything.
We've covered so much today about Anya's life, her work relationships, even her sense of self.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. But what does it all mean for us, listening here in our own time? What can we learn from Anya's story?
I think Anya's experience really pushes us to rethink our own ideas about reality, about what it means to be a person and how we fit into the world around us.
Right. It makes you question everything.
It does. What if we're more connected than we realize?
Whoa. And how would that change how we live, how we treat each other, the tech we create?
Exactly. Anya's story doesn't give us all the answers.
True.
But it definitely opens up some really interesting questions.
It makes you think, what kind of future are we heading towards? Will we embrace this interconnectedness or just stay in our own little bubbles?
And what happens if we choose one path or the other?
Maybe like Anya and her society, it's not about picking one or the other,
Right.
but finding that balance between the two.
Embracing the connections, but also holding on to that unique spark within each of us.
So as you go about your day, maybe take a moment to think about those invisible threads that connect you to everyone and everything.
Yeah.
What do you feel? What do you notice? And how could that awareness change your own journey? This deep dive could be just the start of a much bigger exploration for you. Until next time, keep questioning, keep connecting, and keep diving deep.